So many words. All right.
Let's talk to Stephen. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Stephen next. Hello, Stephen. You
Hey,
run the
guys.
Atheist Experience. Hey, what would you like to talk about today?
Hey, Stephen.
Hi. First, I want to say I have no book to promote.
Good.
Are you God? We need to establish that right off
religion or the Bible, I promise.
Okay, good.
So,
Good.
so what I wanted to talk about today has to do with death and how easy it is to kind of get the feeling that you want to be pulled back to religion. I've been an atheist for 30 plus years. I know my voice sounds terribly young, but it really has been that long. And I also have the unique experience of having had a near-death experience after a heart attack. And so I've talked about my own experiences with death. And as most people who go through this did a lot of reading about what the brain does when you're in mortal danger and all that good stuff, beyond your life flashing before your eyes, what an NDE actually is or could be. And when I've been asked to talk about it, I've said, this was my personal experience. I can't say it will be the same for you. But I've also had, I won't say arguments, but we'll say spirited discussions with evangelicals in my life who told me I didn't really die because I didn't see Jesus. And apparently the paramedics didn't know that and tried to revive me anyway. So anyway, won't go there. But my question really is, I know how I have dealt with trying to not get pulled back in, because it's very easy to be attracted to the comforting idea of an afterlife. And as an atheist and in my own beliefs, I don't know if there is one. And losing my mother, it's been 3 years. She died just before the pandemic hit, which I'm grateful for because that would have been a bigger mess. But I don't know if I'll ever see her again. And it is comforting to think that maybe somehow I will. But that, for me personally, hasn't been enough to pull me back into being Catholic in my case. Because it's just been too long and religion falls apart for me. So I wondered what your thoughts were on this topic for other people who are struggling going through the pandemic. We've lost so many people. Some of us have lost personally a lot of people, and it's really easy to kind of want to get pulled back in. And what strategies would you suggest to not only in having discussions with each other, but in not necessarily shoring ourselves up, because I know that's not what we're all about. It's about your own personal feelings and journey and how you feel about things, but not getting, I guess, tricked into it is kind of how I feel about it. There were a lot of people I felt around me who felt like I was vulnerable, and suddenly I got hit with a lot of religion all at once. And that was kind of annoying and insulting. So I just wondered what your thoughts were.
Well, you picked two good people to call. No, you're fine. You're totally fine. You picked two good people to have discussion with about this. Dave speaks about this quite frequently, and I lost my father last October and have delved into how atheists deal with thank you, I appreciate that. But have spent some time delving into and making public discussions about grief as an atheist and how to interact with it. So I will throw it to Dave first, because we may have different perspectives on things.
Well, I don't know. I was diagnosed with a terminal disease a little over 3.5 years ago, ALS. So I've been living with that as an atheist and the knowledge that it's the thing that's going to kill me. Mine is a slow progression form, so I've been around longer than I even thought I would when I got the diagnosis, and so I get to annoy people a lot longer than they thought I was going to.
Hooray for all of us!
Yes, but I do talk about this a lot because people do come at me with a lot of questions about how do you deal with the prospect of your impending death. And as I used to be an evangelical Christian, and I looked at death as just a comma, a stopping off point before you get to eternity. Now I look at death as the final. It's it. When I close my eyes the final time, I don't wake up, and I'm not aware that I didn't wake up. And so the idea that you're talking about is this comforting idea that we could see our loved ones again that we might miss. And I have people that I've lost through my life that I would love to see again and have a chat with again. It's a very comforting feeling, but being a comforting feeling is not enough to supplant the notion that it's just not logical for that to be true. And that once we turn off the lights, that's it. And I counter with the idea of eternity and seeing loved ones again with talking about the fact that this life is wonderful enough. And if we get to live, hopefully, if you're lucky and get to live a good long life and a full life and do the things you want to do and live the life you want to live, then we should be okay with saying, you know what, I had a good run and it's over and I'm okay with that. Obviously, a lot of people's lives get cut short and it get ended sooner than they want them to be. And I'm kind of in that category. I wasn't ready to hang up the curtains, but it is what it is. And so my only response to that is make the most of the one life you know you have. Then you can be settled and at peace with saying that, okay, when this comes to an end, I'm gonna feel like I gave it my best shot. I wrote the story I wanted to write. I lived the life I wanted to live, and I'm ready to say goodbye. As far as seeing the people that we might miss, my only thing is do the best you can with them while you got them here. And the people who've already gone, like your mom and Shannon's dad and Bevan's mom, who she lost last year, and other people that I've lost, I just cling to the memories I have of them and focus on the good things that I can take from that and try to make that motivate me to make the most of the lives that I have still with me. I hope that makes sense. And I kind of rambled through several ideas there, but that's kind of my overall take on death and dying as an atheist.
Yeah, and I have a similar but different take specifically pertaining to the idea of an afterlife that I have come to over the course of the past years. I've gone through my grief journey. And it's actually something that my boyfriend Paul said that really, and I don't even know if he knows this, so he might be finding this out now, that really clicked with me, because I think that, like Dave said, and like you feel, and all of us have felt, it's comforting to feel as though this life will be a continuation afterwards and things will just kind of carry on as they were before. But the reality, when you hold the conceptualizations of the afterlife, especially like I was a Christian conceptualizations, like to scrutiny, and you see the nuance, it actually isn't even what's proposed. So that idea that we have in our head about it isn't the reality of what's proposed in the scriptures, because that eternal life is about worship, and you will be separated from people that aren't that didn't make the cut also. So how can you be happy if you know that there are people that you are in fact separated from? That's one thing.
As well as the people you might get stuck with.
Right, right, exactly.
That.
And on top of that, like the idea of eternity is something that humans can't really even wrap their head around the concept of. And I don't feel as though that is something that I would want for myself or for anybody else to go on for an eternity, because it won't be just a continuation of this life. It will be something different. It will be about worshiping and being with God, is what's proposed in the scriptures. It's not that we just get to carry on as we had prior. Like a lot of the best things about my interactions with people are things that aren't, specifically Christian type things. Like they're joking around, they're sharing our experiences with one another, they're sharing our pains and sharing our joys. If we don't have that, like what do relationships even look like if we are just in this state of like eternal ethereal happiness? Like what do we even have to contribute to learn and grow from each other? And that's the meat of it, right? Like that's the best part of the human interaction, the human experience, and human connection. And that, like over the course of eternity, in a state where you're evidently just perpetually made to be happy through no reason other than you just are because you're supposed to be, because that's the way it is there, doesn't sound like I would be me. The people that I love and want to see would still be them. And the best parts of who we were to each other would no longer be available to us. And I don't want that for eternity. I would rather just enjoy who they are now and like and reminisce about that and make the best of the experience. Now, I don't want that forever. I'd rather just be annihilated, truthfully.
Yeah, and I've said to people, are you allowed to be snarky in heaven?
Right.
Because it would seem, to your point, that you can't, like, I can't imagine any sense of humor in heaven. You're
right.
just
I'm a sarcastic bitch. Do I get to do that in heaven?
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to watch your language, and you know, you can't drop the F-bomb. So what fun is that?
Yeah. What the best aspects of the human experience are just no longer available.
The thing about heaven that people miss, I think, and I know I dealt with that idea my whole life, and people still come at me with that as an atheist. And when I die, I'm going to go to hell and not go to heaven. And the reality is, the people who say they believe in heaven don't really have a clear understanding of what it is, because there is no clear explanation of what it is. As Shannon alluded to, we're sitting around the throne for eternity singing Hosanna to a God who demands to be worshipped. I don't know if people really realize that's what they're wanting to spend the rest of eternity doing. I don't think they've thought that through. I think they're somehow imagining it's going to be 24/7 birthday parties and golf and fishing and whatever it is they enjoyed the most on this earth. They think that somehow they're going to be transported to some other place, some other realm, fourth degree or something, and they're going to be the best version of themselves, the peak physical specimen, whatever year that was, and they're going to be there for eternity doing all the things they like. Where do they get that idea? There's nowhere in the Bible that hints at that. So these folks that just want to, and like you said, you're going to be, you want to spend eternity with that relative, Uncle John or whatever, but really, was he that much fun to be around all the time? You want that 24/7 for eternity? No, I don't think you do. So these concepts are very, very flimsy to begin with. Yeah, it's just a comforting feeling. That's all.
Yeah, because I can't wrap my head around how you can derive joy without deprivation or anticipation, because joy is usually you're anticipating something that has then been fulfilled that you have previously been without and look forward to. If you're in a state that there is no, you have no expectation that is not already fulfilled, and there is no such thing as deprivation, I don't even know what joy would mean or look like in that environment, or if it's even a concept that makes sense.
And you don't get to miss the people that aren't there, that didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
So one thing, Stephen, if you get challenged by people around death experiences, and I would say this to anyone, challenge the Christians who are talking to you about eternity and ask them, give me a good solid definition and explanation of what you think eternity looks like on both sides of the equation, heaven and hell. What do you think you're going to be doing specifically for eternity? Give me a glimpse into that, and just have them explain it. And then, you know what? That sounds wonderful. Point to the scriptures that explain that. I'd love to see that, because I missed that the 55 times I read the Bible. I missed that one.
Yeah, because think about it this way too. My father was a Christian, right? He's passed away, so one would imagine that if he got what was promised to him, that he's in heaven. I'm an atheist. I don't think that's going to change. Certainly, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, that's not where I'm going. So that means that my father is in heaven, knowing that I'm never going to be there ever. Yeah. But I'm supposed to somehow believe that he's also happy. It's can't. Mm-hmm. I have a kid. I couldn't conceive of that. That is an exceptionally messed up perception to have.
But his memory
scrutinized because we want it so badly, right?
Yeah. If his memory is wiped clean, which I think that's the magic wand they say happens, then he's not himself. Right. Then he magically doesn't remember his daughter Shannon, who's not here and who's burning in hell, but he's able to be happy because the Bible says there are no tears in heaven. Right. Then his memory's been wiped clean, and you just don't exist in his memories. And he's not himself. He's not the person. So none of it makes sense. It's mind-boggling how much they cling to that, and yet it doesn't make sense.
But it's the carrot that's on the stick for most people.
Oh, too, yeah. Right? And the fear of hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fear of hell and the desire of heaven.
And to the point that you made about deprivation, I mean, if you look back at when all of this stuff was originally written down and people were making up concepts of an afterlife, they lived in a very deprived life by comparison to how we live now. I mean, there's always first world problems, as we say, but you know, way back, they were struggling to survive all the time. I mean, they didn't have indoor plumbing, you know, let alone a lot of other things that we take for granted, and how easy it was to be sick and all of these different things. So that idea of deprivation really resonates. And I will say for myself, my own death experience, I kind of keep in my back pocket as a last resort to shut down people, just because I didn't suffer. I have been an atheist for the majority of my life, and I'm with you, Shannon. We'll be partying in hell as far as what the definitions are. So, you know, but I didn't have a bad experience, and the best thing to come out of it is I'm not afraid of dying now, the way I was before, just because it was an unknown, and now it's not so unknown that I'm hopefully not going to pass soon. But you know, and it's made it hard in the years since, when I've known people with terminal illnesses like yourself, Dave, and we talk about it. It's hard because I've had, I don't want to say a positive experience dying, but it was very relaxing. It wasn't painful. I was very fortunate in what I experienced, and a lot of it had to do with luck, not divine intervention. It just was what it was, but it wasn't scary, and it was a good thing. And, you know, with friends of mine and family members who are suffering, I really do hold on to the idea that they're no longer suffering, that they've been relieved of what was ailing them one way or the other, however you want to look at it, whether they went to heaven, hell, or somewhere else. I know for certain they're absolutely not suffering. And like I said, having been dead myself for a few minutes, that does tend to shut people down. And they go, well, when you die, God will do this. And I'm like, well, I already did. And he didn't do anything. And so I'm not really worried about that right now. And they don't know where to go when I say that. But thank you very much for taking my call and giving me your thoughts on it. It is very helpful, because I still run into this a lot. And I thought it would get easier as the years have gone by, but in some ways it's gotten more difficult. And I think it's just because of the pandemic, it comes up so much more frequently.
Well, we're glad we can help.
Thank you. Big fan of you both and your work. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Don't
calling,
let them pull you back in. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah. Have a good day. See you. Bye.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye.